After 60, muscle should not be thought of as something that simply fades with time, but as a living system that responds precisely to how it is spoken to by the body and the brain. Muscle is deeply intelligent tissue. It listens to nerve signals, mechanical tension, and metabolic demand, constantly deciding whether it is needed or can be slowly dismantled to save energy. When daily life becomes easier, slower, and more repetitive, the body interprets this as a signal that strength is no longer essential. This is not a flaw in aging, but an ancient survival mechanism. The body is always adapting to the environment it experiences most often. If the environment asks for endurance but not force, muscles adapt by becoming smaller and less powerful, conserving resources while still allowing basic movement. This is why sarcopenia accelerates after 60, even in people who stay active. Walking, while valuable for circulation and mental health, does not challenge muscle fibers deeply enough to keep them fully engaged. Over time, the nervous system becomes efficient, recruiting fewer muscle fibers to perform the same task. Especially affected are the fast-twitch fibers, the ones responsible for strength, balance, and quick reactions. These fibers are not lost because of age alone, but because they are no longer invited to participate. When they remain inactive, the brain gradually reduces its communication with them, weakening the connection that keeps muscle alive and responsive. What science has shown repeatedly is that muscle does not need intensity to survive. It needs clarity. Resistance, even gentle resistance, sends a clear biological message that muscle is still required. When resistance is introduced, the nervous system increases its signal strength, waking up dormant fibers and improving coordination. Muscle cells respond by activating pathways involved in protein synthesis, mitochondrial function, and metabolic health. This process does not shut down after 60. It slows only when the signal disappears. When the signal returns, adaptation resumes, often more quickly than people expect. There is also an important psychological layer to this process. When people believe muscle loss is inevitable, they unconsciously move less decisively. Movements become cautious and incomplete, reducing muscle engagement even further. This creates a loop where fear accelerates weakness, and weakness increases fear. Gentle resistance breaks this loop. It restores trust between the brain and the body. Each controlled effort reinforces the idea that strength is still possible, that the body is not fragile but adaptable. Understanding muscle in this way changes everything. Aging is no longer a story of loss, but of communication. The question becomes not how old the body is, but what it is being asked to do. When the body is asked only to move forward slowly, it sheds strength. When it is asked to support itself, to push, to rise, to resist gravity with intention, it responds with preservation and even growth. Muscle does not disappear because of time. It disappears because it is no longer spoken to in its own language. The simple act of standing up from a chair holds far more power than most people realize, especially after 60. This movement is deeply connected to survival and independence because it reflects the body's ability to rise against gravity using its own strength. When this action becomes difficult, it is not just a physical limitation, but a signal that the muscles responsible for stability and mobility are losing their voice. The legs and hips contain the largest and most metabolically active muscles in the body, and when they weaken, the entire system suffers. Yet, these muscles respond remarkably well when they are challenged in a calm, controlled way. When a person stands up slowly, without momentum, the muscles are forced to engage fully. Speed often hides weakness, allowing gravity to do much of the work. Slowness, on the other hand, demands precision and effort. This increases what scientists call time under tension, a key driver of muscle maintenance and growth. The muscle fibers experience sustained load, which activates cellular pathways that tell the body these tissues are still essential. Even in older adults, this process stimulates protein synthesis and improves muscle quality, not just size. Lowering back down into the chair is equally important. This phase requires the muscles to resist gravity, which places high demand on the fibers while remaining gentle on the joints. Eccentric contractions, as they are known, are particularly effective in older populations because they generate strong muscle signals with less energy cost. This makes the movement both safe and efficient. Over time, these controlled descents retrain the nervous system to trust the muscles again, improving coordination and balance. Beyond the muscles themselves, this movement strengthens the connection between the brain and the body. Standing up requires timing, awareness, and stability. Each repetition reinforces neural pathways that may have weakened with inactivity or fear of falling. As these pathways strengthen, the body becomes more confident in its own abilities. Movements that once felt uncertain begin to feel natural again. This neurological re-education is one of the most overlooked benefits of simple resistance exercises. There is also a profound emotional component to this movement. Being able to stand with ease restores dignity and independence. It reduces reliance on support and removes the quiet anxiety that often accompanies daily tasks. The body begins to move with purpose rather than caution. Over time, this confidence spills into other areas of life, encouraging more activity and engagement. What makes this exercise so powerful is its accessibility. It requires no equipment, no special space, and no complex instructions. It meets the body where it is and invites it to adapt gradually. Each slow rise and controlled descent sends a message of resilience. The muscles listen. The nervous system responds. Strength is not forced but rebuilt through repetition and respect. In this way, a chair becomes more than furniture. It becomes a tool for preserving muscle, balance, and independence well into later life. Upper body strength often fades quietly with age, not because it is less important, but because it is rarely challenged in daily life. After 60, many movements become smaller and more cautious, and the arms are used less for pushing, supporting, or lifting the body. This gradual reduction in demand sends a clear message to the nervous system that upper body muscle is no longer essential. Over time, the shoulders, chest, arms, and even the deep muscles around the spine begin to weaken, increasing the risk of frailty and reducing the body's ability to protect itself during sudden movements or loss of balance. Wall-supported pushing movements offer a gentle but powerful way to reverse this process. When the hands press into a stable surface and the body moves away with control, multiple muscle groups are activated at once. The chest and shoulders generate force, the arms transmit it, and the core stabilizes the spine. This integrated effort mirrors real-life actions such as pushing open a door, rising from bed, or catching oneself during a stumble. The body recognizes this pattern as meaningful and responds by re-engaging muscle fibers that may have been inactive for years. From a biological perspective, resistance applied through the upper body stimulates muscle cells to remain metabolically active. These cells respond by increasing their sensitivity to nutrients and improving their ability to maintain protein content. This is particularly important in older adults, whose muscles often become less responsive to dietary protein alone. Gentle resistance restores this responsiveness, making nutrition more effective and supporting overall strength. Unlike high-impact or heavy-load exercises, wall-supported pushing reduces strain on the joints while still delivering a clear strength signal. This movement also plays a crucial role in postural health. As upper body muscles weaken, the shoulders tend to round forward, and the spine loses support. Breathing becomes shallower, and fatigue sets in more quickly. Pressing movements counteract this by strengthening the muscles that hold the chest open and the spine upright. Over time, posture improves naturally, not through conscious correction, but through restored muscular balance. Improved posture enhances breathing efficiency and circulation, further supporting energy and vitality. Neurologically, these pushing movements help rebuild confidence in the upper body. Many older adults develop a subtle fear of using their arms to support weight, especially after experiencing pain or instability. Controlled wall exercises provide a safe environment to reintroduce load without risk. As confidence grows, the nervous system relaxes, reducing protective tension and allowing muscles to work more effectively. This reduction of fear-related inhibition is essential for maintaining strength and coordination. The simplicity of this exercise is what makes it so sustainable. It can be adjusted easily by changing body position, allowing gradual progression without intimidation. Each controlled push reinforces the message that the upper body is still capable and needed. Strength returns not through force, but through consistency and trust. In this way, a wall becomes more than a support. It becomes a partner in preserving muscle, stability, and independence as the body continues to adapt with age.
Muscle responds best, not to occasional bursts of effort, but to regular, meaningful signals that tell the body it must stay strong. After 60, the idea that exercise must be intense to be effective often does more harm than good because it creates fear, inconsistency, or exhaustion. From a biological standpoint, muscles are highly adaptive tissues that thrive on repetition and clarity rather than force. When resistance is applied consistently, even at low levels, muscle cells adjust their internal machinery to maintain strength and efficiency. This process unfolds quietly over time, creating stability rather than stress. Consistency allows the nervous system to refine its communication with muscles. Each repeated movement strengthens neural pathways, making muscle activation smoother and more coordinated. This reduces the energy cost of movement and lowers the risk of injury. As coordination improves, the body becomes more confident in its ability to generate force, and this confidence feeds back into better muscle engagement. In contrast, long gaps between workouts cause the nervous system to deprioritize muscle activation, accelerating decline. Small, frequent efforts keep the conversation between brain and muscle alive. Progression does not mean pushing harder until discomfort appears. It means gently increasing the challenge as the body adapts. This could be as simple as slowing down a movement, adding an extra repetition, or reducing external support. These subtle changes are enough to stimulate adaptation without overwhelming the joints or connective tissues. Muscles respond by increasing their capacity to handle load, and tendons strengthen alongside them, improving joint stability. This gradual approach aligns with how the body naturally evolves, minimizing stress while maximizing benefit. At the metabolic level, consistent resistance training improves how muscles use nutrients. Muscle cells become more sensitive to insulin, allowing glucose to enter more efficiently and reducing strain on the metabolic system. They also become more responsive to amino acids from dietary protein, enhancing muscle repair and maintenance. This means that the same meals provide greater benefit when paired with regular resistance. Energy levels often improve not because more calories are burned, but because the body becomes better at using what it receives. Energy levels also influence hormonal balance. Gentle, regular resistance supports hormones that protect muscle and bone, while reducing chronic stress hormones that accelerate tissue breakdown. This creates an internal environment that favors preservation rather than loss. Over time, this hormonal shift contributes to better sleep, improved mood, and greater resilience to daily stressors. Perhaps most importantly, consistency reshapes identity. When movement becomes a regular part of life, it stops being a task and becomes a habit. The body expects to move, and the mind begins to see strength as something ongoing rather than temporary. This mindset reduces fear and increases patience, allowing progress to unfold naturally. Muscle does not rebuild overnight, but it responds faithfully to regular care. In this way, small daily efforts become a powerful strategy for protecting strength, independence, and quality of life well into older age. At the deepest level, muscle loss after 60 is not only a physical process, but a conversation shaped by beliefs, emotions, and trust between the mind and the body. Many people unknowingly carry a quiet fear of movement as they age, rooted in past pain, injury, or the simple awareness that the body feels different than it once did. This fear alters how the nervous system operates. Movements become guarded, shallow, and hesitant, reducing muscle activation long before weakness is physically unavoidable. Over time, this protective pattern convinces the body that strength is no longer required, accelerating decline even in the absence of disease. When movement is reintroduced in a safe and controlled way, something powerful happens in the nervous system. The brain begins to recalibrate its perception of risk. Gentle resistance exercises performed at home create an environment of security where effort can exist without fear. As the brain senses stability, it reduces excessive protective tension. This allows muscles to contract more fully and efficiently. In this state, strength returns not through force, but through permission. The body is allowed to express its remaining capacity rather than suppress it. Psychologically, this process restores a sense of agency. Aging often comes with the feeling that the body is slowly slipping beyond control, that decisions are made by limitation rather than choice. When individuals experience progress through simple movements, confidence grows. Each successful effort becomes evidence that adaptation is still possible. This confidence influences posture, breathing, and even facial expression. The body moves with intention instead of caution, which further improves muscle engagement and balance. There is also a strong emotional component to this reconnection. Movement performed with awareness becomes an act of self-respect rather than obligation. Instead of punishing the body for what it can no longer do, the focus shifts to supporting what it can still become. This compassionate approach reduces internal resistance and increases consistency. The nervous system responds favorably to this emotional safety, reinforcing the cycle of improvement. From a biological perspective, reduced fear lowers chronic stress hormones that contribute to muscle breakdown and inflammation. As stress decreases, recovery improves, and the body becomes more receptive to growth signals. Sleep quality often improves, energy stabilizes, and motivation naturally increases. These changes are subtle but cumulative, creating a foundation for long-term resilience. Ultimately, preserving muscle after 60 requires more than exercises and nutrition. It requires a shift in relationship with the body. Strength is not something to chase aggressively or mourn as lost. It is something to invite gently and consistently. When the mind trusts the body and the body feels supported, adaptation continues. Sarcopenia loses its momentum not because it is fought, but because the conditions that allowed it to grow are quietly removed. In this space of trust and patience, strength remains a living, evolving part of human life.